Put it in sport. And hit it. Takes a little while to get going. Well, good day everyone. You are watching Beyond the Test Drive, and I am taking a quick spin in Mazda's all new CX-90 three-row all-wheel drive SUV. Boy, that's a mouthful. This is my first time driving this, so this is not a full review. Just going to offer some first impressions and some information. And I am currently in the inline 6-cylinder gas, but later in this video I am going to hop over into the plug-in hybrid version of this, so really looking forward to that. Man, this thing, first impressions though are this drives exactly like you'd want your Mazda to drive. So it's not pillowy, it's not like floaty. The suspension gives you that Mazda road feel. A little crash over the bump there. Steering, perfectly weighted. This is just how I would want my steering to be weighted. Now specifically the one we're driving here today is the top of the trim. This is all the way up. This is a Turbo S something. It has the turbocharged inline 6, and the big news here, well, it's a brand new inline 6 with a turbocharger. That's news enough. But even more is that all versions of the Mazda inline 6 have a mild hybrid 48-volt system, providing pretty much instantaneous torque down low, about 113 pound-feet to complement the engine. And the key is that it provides the oomph while the turbo gets up to boost. So it's pretty clever, and so far I'm finding it very effective. I'm going to put it into sport. I like the engine note. It's definitely unique. You're not gonna hear anything like that. It's not like the BMW straight sixes, but it's pretty close. Sport mode right now is holding this gear. I love how the gauges change to a red color. So I would think this feels like, you know, I'm completely guessing here, guys. This feels like a 6-second, low sixes, 0 to 60. And the other thing for everybody who's been whining for years about Mazda's old 6-speed automatic, you know, which is one of the best out there, by the way, they have finally got a new one. This is a brand new 8-speed here, and it's not a dual clutch, and it's also torque converterless. So it's a bunch of wizardry going on with planetary gears and multi-plate clutches. But yeah, there's a lot going on under the hood with these new engines and this new transmission. Now, one of the other cool things about this is whether it's the hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or this one, what Mazda has done here is they've put the electric motor between the engine and the transmission. So the transmission is doing its thing regardless of in any of these different variations. So it creates a very familiar driving and seamless driving experience. Styling wise, this does continue Mazda's hot streak of creating beautiful cars. You know, I think maybe the back end is a little bulbous looking, but overall it's just a nice elegant look to it. And you also notice on the back end it has a very, well, when you hop out of this thing and you look at it, you go, wait, the wheelbase is very long. They push the wheels all the way out to the corners, and this wheelbase is, I think, something like 8 inches longer than the outgoing CX-9s, but the length is about the same, and it's obviously a lot wider. Now, despite all that extra length, Mazda is very proud of the fact that this has a nice tighter turning circle than the older one, the CX-9, and that's, you know, the inline 6 engine and that smaller transmission packaging creates a lot of room up front for a really nice suspension. They got double wishbone up front, and I think in the back there's a 5-link, so pretty sophisticated. So that creates a lot of room to turn those wheels. This specific one we're driving is in also a brand new color that Mazda's debuted on the CX-90, Artisan Red. And Mazda does great colors. And I think this also looks I think the Artisan Red is rather stately and elegant, but I kind of like this in white. That's the only other color I've seen this in, but I think this shape of this thing will wear all of Mazda's great colors very well. All right, so let's hop out real fast and see what we got. Okay, real quick here. So park is here, you pull it over, drive. I can throw it up in the reverse and then over to park. The fact that I got to go through reverse is a little strange to get to park, but there you go. We do have a bunch of typical Mazda stuff down here. As far as this interior goes, absolutely stunning. There's absolutely zero wrong with this. Well, I guess I'm not sure about this whole Swedish Alcantara up on the dash. You know, you may want to rethink that Mazda. I'm not sure how it's gonna look as it ages, but you know, the top trim here is quite gussied up. What I do like about this is how wide this is, your two cup holders, and what else you get down there. Mazda, all the buttons you need, you know, AC, all your seat heaters and coolers right there. And then you can go into your rear control. So all the buttons you need for your HVAC are right along here. And then you're going to get into your infotainment system right here. So this is just like all the other Mazdas. Just taking a quick look into the back seat. The back seat passengers have their own controls down here. And the big thing that's going to improve this over the CX-9 is that the back seat is actually going to be a lot more usable for adults. Decent amount of storage behind the third rows, but if you want to even more, there you go. Again, you can get this starting around $40,000 if you're willing to go with less goodies, but you're going to get the same size vehicle and you're going to get the same driving dynamics overall, just a little less horsepower. I'm now in the plug-in hybrid. Just a little bit stranger sensations going on here. So I'm in full EV mode. I have 13 miles of range. So I'm just going to zip along here in EV mode, and it pushes it pretty good. So I think this is like 26 miles of pure EV range. And this one is the top trim. This is sitting right below 60K as far as money goes. It's got all the bells and whistles, and this is a cool hybrid system. You know, we got the same 8-speed transmission, but then combined with that, we got Mazda's tried and true 2.5 4-cylinder, you know, the one that's in every other Mazda, and you combine that with 170-ish horsepower electric motor, and yeah, I think you get up to the full 320 horsepower combined. And the crazy thing is, even in EV mode, this thing is shifting, I think. But when you get the gas motor going, that's when you get all that horsepower. And I think the torque is going to come in around the same as the Inline 6 also. So that should be good when we get that going. You know, so the question is whether this 26 miles of range is worth it. And you know, when you throw people in here and you turn the heat on in the winter, you know, I'm not sure. It seems a little on the low side, but I think this will charge up pretty quick. If you got a 240 or something at home, I think you can jump from like 20 to 60% or 20 to 80% in like an hour or an hour and a half or something. So if you're running errands during the day and you come back in and pop it in, yeah, I think you're gonna save some gas. Let's see if we can change things to normal. Okay, now we're in normal mode. Oh, what a difference. Wow, this thing just wakes up. Yeah, this hustles. This hustles just as good when you're out of EV mode and you're using that gas engine as the straight 6. So this is an option. This is quiet out here on the highway. The engine just came on. Very good, very good. Now the silver on the center console down here is pretty cool. It breaks up all this black. I actually think I like this black interior better than that tan one I just copped out of. I think this would just be for the long term, I think this would be the one to live with. Okay, let's head up on this windy road here. Yeah, I think I'm having more fun here, and I think it's all about the seamlessness of the transition. The motor's off when it can be, and it's just seamless when it comes on. It's just a normal driving experience. It just doesn't have that hybrid sort of experience I think that other brands Toyota has sort of conditioned us to expect. And you know, this hybrid is really about performance. I'm not sure how much you're really going to save on gas here, but yeah, I think this is a cool vehicle. I think you can change your regenerative braking somewhere, I'm sure. But overall, the brakes are Mazda-like. No real odd feeling, just nice bite right at the top. And handling here, well, not much to really say. I mean, you're connected to the road, so it's fun. And you know, but it is a big vehicle, but it's not, you know, the suspension is not floaty, cushy, and you know, with this long wheelbase, it can crash, and you know, it's Mazda suspension tuning. And you know, when you see a road like this and you are in a 3-row crossover, you know, it's not normal to like want to attack it, but the CX-90 wants to have fun, so that's saying something. All right, so while we're enjoying this great road, let's chat all about the trim levels. And it's a lot, but really what it is Mazda breaks them up into 3 tiers. You got the turbo tier, which is basically the bottom tier, and that's like 5 trim levels, and that's really the mainstream competition tier levels. That's going to compete with things like the hot selling Telluride. And then you jump up to something called the Turbo S tier, and that's where you get that higher horsepower engine, and that's really what Mazda's trying to compete in the you know, take the brand up market. And then you have the plug-in hybrid tier. Now, while the CX-90 starting price is fairly close with the outgoing CX-9 at around $39K, it tops out nearly $10K more. You can get all the way up to $60K, where I think the CX-9 topped out at $50K. You know, and the nice thing about all the Mazda trim levels, you're always going to get the same driving dynamics and the same overall feel. Now, fuel economy wise, not much difference between the 2 inline 6s, and the hybrid's a little bit of a mystery right now. I think they're saying 50 mpge, but I'm never really quite know what that number means in real life. You know, it would really you can imagine whether you take a lot of short trips and you come back and you charge this thing back up. You know, you charge the hybrid back up. I think the inline 6s are like 25 overall. I'll put those numbers right up there. And then the hybrid, I would imagine, is probably the same when you're not on the battery. Maybe overall it might do a little bit better. All right, so I'd say my first impressions of this is that you know, both the inline 6 and the plug-in hybrid, they're new. It's cool new stuff, and it's fairly impressive. I really don't have enough time today. I haven't had enough time in these to really draw any strong conclusions specifically about features and just daily livability, which I like to do. But the Mazda feel is here, and that's what we're all looking for if you're a Mazda fan. I'm a little bit more intrigued by this hybrid. This feels a little livelier than the inline 6 for some reason. I think the shifts maybe a little crisper, but that, again, that could just be my imagination now that I'm in this one. Now, maybe the weight of this one makes it a little bit less lively handling than the 6, but I'm not quite sure about that one. But what we do have is we have Mazda-like driving engagement. You feel the road. The steering is a little slow, but it feels great. And you know, Mazda's offering shoppers in this category something to really consider. And if you're a premium buyer aspiring to those premium brands, you can always save yourself some money by checking out Mazdas. But let me know what you think. Leave your questions and comments below. We would always love to hear from you. And as always, we really appreciate you watching today, and have a great day, morning or evening, wherever you may be.